guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Yaz. I decided today to, instead of vlog, I'm just gonna do a video basically about PWI versus HBCU, what the life is like because I've lived extensively now in both, and how to make the decision when you are choosing. I would assume college would be your first choice like that, because that was my first one definitely. And really what that experience has been like for me thus far, I get questions like this mostly from people at home, Black teenagers that are about to go on their college decision journey. I went to a college prep school at home. All of our applications to college had to be in before Halloween, which is like next week. So I wanted to go ahead and get this up for you guys just in time for you to be making your decisions and hopefully give you a little bit of guidance in terms of what criteria I looked for, how the experience has been, how it could have been better, what I would have changed, all of those things. So just so you guys know, if you don't know me personally or anything, my educational life, really my whole life, to be completely honest, I'm from Indiana. I'm from Indianapolis though, which is like, of course, the capital. It's the urban section of it. I live in the suburbs, but it's only like 15 minutes from downtown. So I have a lot of experience nonetheless with Black people that are my family friends or whatever, but never really in my educational setting. So I went to a college prep high school. I went to Brebeuf Jesuit Preparatory School. It was, I don't even want to say the percentage of Caucasian it was. Let's just say, if I just had to round about a number, it'd be like no less than 85%. I was actually an admissions ambassador, so I really did like have to get into the stats a lot, and I really did have to like market it to most of the Black families that were considering the school just for the educational value. I'm pretty sure it's like #1 school in the city or the state or something. A lot of people did come there for the educational value, but for Black families in particular, it was just like a nerve-wracking experience for them. My biggest thing I would say for me, it was not difficult being in a predominantly white space. And if you don't know, PWI means predominantly white institution. HBCU is a historically Black college or university. I currently go to Xavier University of Louisiana, which is an HBCU. Forgot, new people. I went to this PWI and life for me was really how it's always been. I mean, truly my most horrible racist experience, which was really just in ignorance of a young boy during Obama's presidency. This was before Trump was elected. Alhamdulillah. When this guy in 8th grade, actually, I went to a middle school that was like down the street from Mike Pence's house. Yeah, it was all just like a very trippy situation, honestly, to be in looking back. I was the only Black girl in my class. So anyway, this guy says Obama is a monkey, and like he just starts going off, and I don't even think there was context really. I think he was just having a bad day and decided that Obama was gonna be the victim that day. But anyway, of course I retaliated, that blew up, yada yada yada. So I really had never confronted racism before. I really can't say that I ever had to confront racism so directly, except for that 8th grade experience, which the guy is just so irrelevant now, like whatever. But at the time it was a big deal, and it really did teach me a lot about the institutional racism and everything that I wasn't getting the education of simply because it was not in the history books, as you might imagine, that they were teaching us at this small Roman Catholic school. So yes, my African American history lessons were limited, but I wasn't stupid to recognize, I mean, the slurs that he was producing. And both of my parents are very into recognizing your identity, knowing what you're worth, all of those things. So I really can only say that that was my only like racist experience that I've ever really been through in my life. I can't say that there haven't been other racist circumstances, but for the most part, I would say that I'm pretty unobservant about them. It just doesn't bother me. It could be because I literally have had so many that it's like this is normal, or it could be just because the white people that I surround myself with are genuinely nice people. I'm not sure. One of the decisions though for me around this college decision season, I already knew that I was going to Xavier pretty much. I was just waiting on my acceptance, which I got it would be about a month from now where you all are. So I had been preparing myself for as long as I can remember. I had visited so many schools, but it was like none of them were HBCUs. Really the only HBCU tour that I have a really great memory of would be Spelman, which is in Atlanta, Georgia. If you've never heard of Spelman, I don't know how you wouldn't have, but anyway, I visited Spelman. They really just did not have the pre-med program that I needed from them, but I have a lot of friends that go there and they absolutely love it. They're a lot like liberal arts, and one's engineering, chemical engineering. So They love it. It's a great institution, of course. It might be still #1 HBCU, but at any rate, they just didn't have what I needed. Decided on Xavier just for the pre-med aspect. You guys can go back and look at some of my reaction type videos to what that experience specifically at Xavier's been like so far. But what I can say is that you don't experience any less drama, or any more, I should say, sort of family atmosphere type thing than you would at any PWI. I can't say that any Black space that I have been in has served me better than all the white spaces that I've been in before. I did make a point, if you follow me on social media or if you just know me personally, of course, and you know that for the most part all of my best friends are Black, so that may look like there were like a lot around or whatever, but truthfully that was just like our small community within the greater community, and we all really made an effort to just support each other through it, because we do recognize, and especially I mentioned Trump presidency early on because Mike Pence was our governor, and he had a very important role in the lives of a lot of my classmates growing up. A lot of them knew him personally, a lot of them know Trump personally, and so it was very difficult to see them still as companions, as friends, as classmates, especially during the election and when all of, you know how their parents feel, or how their parents must feel about you and your community, and so you, of course, band together even closer than you were before. And that's not to say that that's the child's fault, it's just to say that I did become more aware of racial division, but I could never blame anything on racial division. And for me, school has always been, the focus has just always been grades, obviously, so it's like I could never say that I was negatively affected in an academic sense by any sort of societal racism or any sort of societal prejudices or anything. I do know some cases, though, that would be a better testimonial, obviously, for someone that has actually had the experience, but I have heard of a lot of cases where like a professor won't curve a grade, or a professor will sometimes blatantly harm their grades for the sake of racism. And I think it's very difficult in that sort of situation, because it's almost like you put yourself in that situation. It's like that's one where you truly cannot get out of it. Whereas I would say that I do love that here at Xavier, I never have to question if my professors are giving me the actual grade that they believe that I earned. And at Xavier, I do feel that certain level of academic comfort, which for me is, of course, the biggest thing. I would say that I really am grateful for that opportunity just to live kind of freely in an academic sense. Now, socially, would I say that a Black community is more comfortable? No, I would say honestly, it comes with all of the same pressures, all of the same, probably sometimes even more stereotypes, just because people, I don't think it's only a college thing. For example, I went up to Notre Dame. It just felt very comfortable in the way that people were a lot less attentive, maybe. I can just honestly say that people do not care as much about your life as they do here. My best friend Alex now goes to Howard. That's one thing that we talked about. People are just very invested in other people's lives, and really every aspect of life. Who's dating who's friends with who went to whose party. It's like people really live for other people's lives. Like they live for other people's drama in a way that I've never seen before. Also, it's a lot more confrontational, maybe, in terms of like, if someone doesn't like you, I don't know. I'm getting a lot of really similar responses, though, from my friends that go to PWIs, from my friends who go to HBCUs. I really hear the similar things, so it's just difficult. And my mom went to a PWI, and my dad went to HBCUs. So it's just interesting to see how, like, through time, it's all really been the same thing. Especially coming from a PWI with a small amount of Black people, our whole main goal, like I said, was like to band together, be a community, just be a family, and like support each other. I came here thinking that would be the same case, and it's just like not even almost, like it's not even kind of that. And I have to say this very loosely because it's like I'm speaking on, I know it's not the entire Black population, but I also think that it could be maybe just HBCUs. It's a number of factors that come together, making this experience as a whole far more tumultuous than any experience I've literally ever had. It just feels like people are a lot more attentive to other people's lives. On the subject, though, of joining sororities and fraternities, etc., when you're choosing PWI versus HBCU, I do not recommend choosing based on like a specific chapter that you want to join, or like a specific person that's in a chapter or whatever. At some point, you really do need to separate the two, the organization. And these are not just sororities and fraternities. These are like, I'm in chemistry ACS club, for example, which is not going to be the exact same at every single college. So I really did have to separate the two, the organization versus the university. And then once you choose your university, then you get into the smaller things like how am I gonna fit in here, and how you fit in at one PWI may not be exactly how you fit in at one HBCU. For example, I have an African best friend. She joined a white sorority at an Ivy, so that gives you kind of a situation of what she's living with, and it's like she's having the time of her life, you know? And then I know some girls that are in Black, not necessarily even just sororities, but just like social clubs in general are really big down here, and they're not having a good time. So it's like you really do have to just make sure that you're personalizing an experience and that you're not choosing a PWI, an Ivy, or an HBCU just based on what someone else's experience was. Because it's like I see so many like slander type videos and everything like on YouTube all the time, and it's like, well, that's crazy because I know someone who like lives their life through this organization. It's like it's like the highlight of their life, really. So that is one thing that I'm really glad that I did do, was just not base my experience or my predisposed experience on anything that someone else had already done. Like my mom, for example, like I said, she did not go to a HBCU, so she cannot give me like, well, this is what happened to me, this is what happened to me. But my dad was like, well, this is how my HBCU experience was, and I want this for you. And so far, mine has been 0% similarity to how his actually was. And that's not like in a good or a bad way. It just means that people live different lives, and they can live different lives in the same spaces. I also just want to touch on, of course, one of the pretty important pieces of information that I wish people had shared with me, or I wish people had just been more honest about, really. I can't name even one HBCU that's not in a neighborhood that would have a fairly low socioeconomic status. And that's not to say that all of them are in the hood or whatever. It just means that it would not be in your typical suburb, or for example, where Tulane is, that's just not where an HBCU would be normally. There are a few though, like Central State I know is like out in the middle of nowhere. So I would just say, before making your decision on the school, definitely go and visit a campus, because where you're actually physically going to be living can be like make it or break it. Like I'm looking at the Superdome right now. It's a little bit different for me living in like a metropolitan area. Of course, I have a lot more options for like apartments, but if you're living in like a suburban area and like, you know, houses are really expensive around there, and then the apartments like aren't really what you're looking for, and you might want to move off campus, please do your research and just go visit. On paper, so many universities, so many PWIs or HBCUs, it doesn't even matter which one really, they can tell you anything that they want. They can have all the Black kids on the poster, they can have all the Asians on the poster, but when you get there, you will see with your own eyes who actually goes to the school. And I think that's one thing that I'm just really glad that I had an opportunity to do, because I was looking at some PWIs not even seriously, and like the representatives would come to my high school and whatever, and I loved it, and then it was like I went and I was like, who even would be my friends? I've always had a lot of friends that were like me, of course, similar to me, but they didn't always look like me. It's been great really just growing up, being able to have a larger group that represents me more completely. The biggest thing that I have appreciated about going to my HBCU would be the obvious networking possibilities. I've had Xavier alumni like their kids have found me on YouTube or whatever, and then like they'll email me and ask me like if I need anything, and that's just like the craziest thing ever. And these are like physicians, which is exactly what I want to be. So to me, it's just like mind-blowing that they even like recognize that I exist, and it's like simply because I go to Xavier, and it's like they went to Xavier and they want me to have a beautiful experience. Bottom line is, I just really, really, really want all of you to make sure that you're making an informed decision, and that does not mean that PWIs are better than or HBCUs are better than one or the other. It just means that you have to personalize your experience at the end of the day. Joining things like SGA, Chemistry Club, whatever, has given me a lot of opportunities, of course, to bond with people, my professors, whoever else, but I really can't say that I would not have been able to do that at a PWI. I just feel like you have to truly be flexible and truly be able to create your own experience, and if you can do that, I honestly don't understand why people fight so harshly for HBCU versus PWI, because now that I've lived in both, I can say that while I was in a PWI setting, I did wish like that there were more Black people, but now that I have like all the Black people in the world, I really can't say that life is like significantly improved or anything. The exposure to everything has just tremendously improved. I don't regret my decision. I just recognize it as like a piece of life, and I'm just going with the flow and really enjoying my time here. So as all of you are making your college decision, just make sure that you are truly ready to personalize your experience. Anything can happen anywhere, and I don't think that you should hold a school to any sort of stereotype. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. See ya.